Yeah, hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So today we will integrate the Redshift with the MySQL Workbench. So first we have to know what is Redshift. So Redshift is a native tool of the AWS that is just generally used to manage the petabyte of the data, and that is AWS manageable, and you don't need to manage that while creating the Redshift. You don't need to provision the worker node or leader nodes. So while creating the Redshift on the backend, it will create the leader node and the worker nodes. You just need to define the worker nodes, like how many worker node you define, so that it will be created automatic on the backend, and it is not required to manage by you, whether like you don't need to create that. So let's create one of the Redshift cluster here, then we can integrate with the SQL workbench. So let me open the you can see I have already opened the Amazon console. So let me open the Amazon Redshift. So let me open it. Yeah, then let's create the cluster, and you can define any name, like a Redshift 1 or Redshift 2. You can define that, and you can get two type of options. One is for the production, and the second is the free trial. So you can take as per the requirement. For the demo perspective, I'm taking the production one. And here you can see the worker node. You can get RS3 or DC2 and the DS2. Generally RS3 to get the better performance, and it is the compute and the storage wise. And DC2, it is using the SSD, and that is very fast, and it will get the better performance. And the DS2 or DS3, that is the legacy one. It is using the STD, the storage, the STD. So that is not required because that is gives the slow performance. So we can take as a default one. Let take me as RS3. So that is the compute and storage wise, it is far better, and it will give the better performance. And you can select the node, like whatever the worker node you define, like two or three, you can define that. And as for your worker number of count of the worker node, yeah, so the price, like the whatever the payment you have to, it will be calculated, and you have to pay for that for the monthly basis. And while creating the Redshift cluster, if you select the sample data, so automatic it will load some sample data while creating the Redshift cluster. And here you can define the username and password for the credential. And yeah, so also you have to add the roles. So you can see I have already created one of the role, like I can use the Sahu Redshift cluster. So let me show you what is the this role and what are the permission I have attached. So let's go to the IAM role, then I can show you. Okay, so let me open it. It takes some time. Okay, so let me go to roles. Let me open that existing role so I can show you what are the permission I have defined inside this role. So here you can see I have attached two type of permission. One is the S3 full access, because I need to upload the data from the S3, and second is the Redshift full access. So if you want to create the role, you just need to create the you have to go to the roles, and you have to create role. And here you have to select the services now you are using for the Redshift. So you have to select the Redshift here. So once created the Redshift, then we have to click on next. And here you have to use the Redshift customize, because we have to add some other permissions, the privilege, like for the S3 or other services. So I have already created that role, so I'm not creating that. So it is the process to create the IAM role. So you can create this role for the Redshift. So as I already told you, I have already created that role. Okay, so while creating the Redshift, you just need to attach that IAM role here. And also you can see on the below there is additional configurations like network backup, security configuration, and the maintenance. You can select that as per your requirement. Okay, so it is the way to, like, you can create the Redshift cluster. So as I have already created the Redshift cluster, I'm not creating that. So I just show you how to create the Redshift cluster. So it is very straightforward. So like you just need to open the Redshift. So that as I told you, you have to select the define options. Then after that, you can see your Redshift cluster is created. Okay. So let me close it, and you can see here, I have already created that same kind of the Redshift cluster here. Let me show you. So you can see I have created one of the cluster. It has also two nodes, and it is the Redshift hyphen 2. The cluster name would be that. Okay, and if you want to get all the details, like you can see, you just need to go to the clusters, and you have to go to the properties, and you will get all the details. Okay, so let me show you that. And it is, you can see, it is the monitoring of the cluster, like the usage of the cluster. And if you go to the properties, and you can see on the right hand side, you can get in the endpoint. If you want to connect the Redshift to the JDBC, you can connect that. And here you can see all there is three nodes. All the IP are also showing on the below, right? Also you can see whatever the role I have using, and it is the public IP. And you can to work a node here, and it is one leader node. There is public IP and the private IP is showing under the properties. And I have attached two roles, but you can generally have to attach only one IAM role. So that was for the different use I created that. And generally, if we want to connect the workbench, either you can do the public accessible, or you can use the private, like the BVC, like the whatever the requirement, you can create that as per the private network. But here, for the demo perspective, I'm using the public one. And you can see here, I just click on the EC2 because security, yeah, sorry, it is the security group, because whatever the security group it attached to the Redshift, so make sure all the required port is open. So for the time being, what I have done here, I have allowed all traffic. So it means all the ports are allowed, right? So you can see here, or it is, I have allowed all traffics here. Okay. Because otherwise, while connecting the workbench in and the Redshift, maybe the connection might be failed, because it need to open the required port. Okay, so and after that we have to download the workbench. So you just need to select, like you can search download the SQL workbench. You can see those are a lot of options, like you can download the workbench from the URL. Okay, so let's click on that. Maybe I have some issue, or maybe there's some internet issue from me their end. So let me open the different URL to download the MySQL workbench. Yeah, it open now. So there is some of the later version as well as the archive one. So whatever the required version you want, you're looking for, you just need to download that. Okay, so you just need to download that workbench. So I have already downloaded the MySQL workbench, so I'm not downloading it again. Okay, so let me go to my download directory, then I can show you what is the version I have downloaded earlier. Yeah, I have downloaded the work build 128 and 125, right? So generally I will use this 125 to connect the Redshift and the SQL workbench. I have already downloaded that tar file, also I have already extracted. Okay, so let me go to inside the workbench build 125, and let me open the workbench exe file. Let me open it. So once it open, then you have to click on file, then you have to click on new connections. Here I have to copy the Redshift endpoint, like the JDBC connections. So let me go to the Redshift, and you can see here I have the endpoint. Yeah, this JDBC, we have to copy that from here. Let me copy it, and let me update here. And after define the URL, then you have to define the username and password, like the whatever the password you have already defined while creating the Redshift cluster. You have to define, you have to put the same thing here. Okay, let me go to the manage drivers, and here you have to select the Amazon Redshift. If the driver is not there, you just need to download that. But by default, the Workbench it is giving the options to download the jar file. You just need to select that. You have to download it. Then you have to click on OK. Okay, so let me go click on OK here, and let me try to test it whether the connection is getting success or failed. So you can try that. It is trying to connect. Yeah, so it's got successfully done. Okay, so the connection has been established in between the MySQL Workbench and the Redshift. So let me run some sample tables. Generally, what happens, the the MySQL commands like the show tables and show databases, it is not working for the like the in the workbench here. Like even if you run the same kind of commands in the Redshift editor or the workbench, it should not work. Okay, but you can create the like SQL commands to create the table and the to read the data. Okay, so let me try also show table. So yeah, definitely it will throw the error because those kind of like it is not allowed from the red shape. Okay, so show tables or show databases, it is not working here. And if you want to show the databases, you just need to click on tools and show databases, and then you will get all the existing tables and all databases here. So generally I have created the earlier such kind of tables, so that's what is showing here. So you can see those are the schema which are showing here, like the whatever the table DDL, it is showing like the existing tables details. So what I have to do for the demo, so I can create one of the table, like the one of the table in inside the Redshift, so I can show you how to create it. Okay, so it is just like a SQL commands. So let me run the command here. Create table, and the table name would be T1. Let's take as an example as T1. Then I have to define the column name, and here inside the string you can see the username and what is my database name, what is my schema name. You will get all the details here. So it will create under def, db and the public schema. So create table, then T1, then id and the data type, it is variable character, and the name also let's take as the variable character. Okay, so let's execute it. I think it got failed, so maybe we have to change some settings. But let me double check and verify it is created or not. It seems it is not created. I'm just verify that. Then I will let you know what is the changes is required before creating the table. Let me refresh it again. Let's see. No, it's not coming. So I think yeah, we have to you have to set this option like auto commit. Then you have to click on OK, because auto commit is required. If you are creating the table, it is required. Okay, so that's why it is why it was not creating. So let's create it the table now. Yeah, you can see it has got success. Okay, so let me verify and double check whether it created or not inside my DB. I told you so table should be not working because I think it is not allowed in the workbench and the SQL editor also. So let me just double check whether it is created or not. Yeah, so this time you can see table t1 table got created. Also if you go to the t1 table, you are getting the column name, right? ID and name and the variable character as the data type. Let me insert the data inside the table, like insert into, then table name, then value. Then let me take an example, like the ID would be 1 and the username as user 1. So I'm adding inserting two entry. Yeah, it seems you can see the two entry got successfully entered inside the T1 table. So just let me verify whether it is working fine or not. So let the select star from the table name to check the value inside the table. Yeah, so it's looking fine. So it is the way, and you can integrate the SQL workbench.